they value and appreciate that wealth to use it wisely. That's so much different than money that's taken from poor taxpayers and given to by rich governments and given to rich people in poor countries who hand out money that was never theirs to take. So it's a very different attitude on how it is spent and how it is utilized. Throughout history, all of us have had the experience of ancestors, at least. If we didn't move much in our lives, at least our ancestors did. Almost nobody lives where our ancestors first began. It's been the history of human beings to go from places where life is hard and harsh because of disease, starvation, tyranny, and going to places where there is greater opportunity and greater prosperity. That's natural. It's in our blood to go and seek out opportunities. And those who are the better ones at seeking it are the ones who take advantage of it. And yet, today we find lots of calamity. You know, a tragedy in a sense. You could say that right now the news in Europe, the United States, is filled with all these refugees, people who are desperate to leave parts of Africa or the Middle East to go to Europe. The opportunities are better, and they see that there are opportunities are better, and they have a great deal of eagerness to get there and send money back home to help their families thrive. And yet, the United Nations says that 60 million people have been displaced, internally and externally, around the world, and are in part of this great movement that's being blocked, basically. People are going from all over the United States, all over the world to the United States as well, because there's a lot of opportunity. And they take great hardships. They suffer pirates at sea, storms at sea, exposure on the deserts, terrible hardship going through jungles. It's a long and arduous journey. For some of us, it takes maybe $500 to buy a ticket to go somewhere. For them, it costs 10 or 100 times as much, and often their lives. Tremendous hardship and a lot of time. And yet they do, a lot do, but a lot perish in the way. This guy here, Walt Staten, put water bottles out in the Arizona desert as a kind of an oasis for people who were crossing certain paths and often just dying out in the desert. And the police arrested him, charged him with the crime of littering. He was convicted and sentenced to 300 hours of community service. And he said, community service? I thought that's what I was doing. And for other people whose heart goes out to people on rafts and these desperate little makeshift boats to get to a better place, they're fined $3,000 per person that they rescue at sea. And frankly, it causes other cruise lines to look the other way, to ignore them. And I'd say that this is a great criminal action. We've seen recently a lot in the news about the Rohingya going from Burma to other places around Asia. My heart goes out to them as well. They suffer a lot of hardship at home, and for the most part, they're greatly exploited in their trafficking, and they're pushed away, and not appreciated in the places they are trying to go to. Australia has even decided to pay the smugglers to take the refugees somewhere else. Last week, we had two people speaking at our conference in Bali, Shin Dong-hyuk and Yeon-mi Park, two people who were escapees from North Korea. Now, Shin Dong-hyuk was especially famous because he was born in a prison camp, knew nothing else except that, and escaped and made it all the way to eventually to South Korea. But they were the lucky ones. Thousands more, for each one that escapes, thousands more are languishing in desperate poverty in China because they know that if they put their head up and if the authorities capture them, they'll just send them back to North Korea, where not only will they be put to death, but 3 generations of families around them will be punished as well. So my heart goes out to them as well, just as it did for people of times past, because this isn't a new story, it's an old story. You know, we've read in our history books about the millions of people who were killed in the concentration camps in Germany during World War II. Millions of Jews and Catholics and Poles. And one very famous one, made famous by her diary, was Anne Frank. What isn't known is that Anne Frank's father twice applied for a visa to go to the United States and was twice turned down. So she and millions of others who could have been rescued by just simply allowing them to flee the tyrants, died instead. Now I say that when the guard is on the outside preventing somebody from leaving a tyrannical situation, or if the guard is on the inside of the gate, it doesn't matter which side of the gate the guard is. The effect is the same. And so I hold that guard and the people authorizing that guard also responsible for what happens to them. So that question I answer yes. C is also responsible for what happens to B if they're denied an opportunity to escape tyranny or starvation or hardship that is threatening their lives and the lives of their families as well. There were people at the time that the officials were turning away refugees. There were people who offered refuge for them. Oskar Schindler, Chine Funahara, and Dr. He, people in Japan, China, Germany, even the Muslims in Albania were offering refuge, but at the risk of their own lives.